Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I'm Lupine Fiasco. This is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we are playing Kayo versus Dorinthea. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I will talk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, giving my thoughts for the line I would take, and compare that to the line I did take at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like the upcoming ProQuest season and, most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you've not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video. You'll get bonus DFG content every week. There are even more benefits to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Let's talk about our sideboard and about the Dorinthea game plan. If you were watching my videos last week, you know I put up a Dawnblade Dorinthea game, and I wanted to follow that up with Hatchet's Dorinthea, as I think Hatchet's is a lot more popular these days following the Pro Tour. Hatchet's Dorinthea is very strong, it's very consistent. Between Blade Runner, Hit and Run, Take It on the Chin, and any sort of agility she gets from Goblet of Blood Red Wine, or from even blocking out our swing bigs, she can usually put 3 hatchet attacks together on a chain. It's a lot of damage, coupled with the defensive power of Valiant Dynamo, of the block value given by Braveforge Bracers and Grains of Blood Spill, and the fact that all of Dorinthea's cards block for 3 outside of Take It on the Chin or her defense reactions. So if she can get a Quicken or an Agility on the field, she can block for 6 with hand, then with a single blue, send 5 damage between 2 hatchets that will also net an additional point of value from the Dynamo. So she is keeping up with us making our Might token every turn, and very frequently dealing more damage than we can if she is hitting the go again and we aren't. This is a very tough matchup, and I think it is one that we're going to be seeing a lot of, especially after Dromai hits Living Legend. I've heard that this matchup can be difficult to navigate against Dromai, and once she is gone, I think we're going to see a lot of Hatchet Warrior. So really good to get our reps now, really good to figure the matchup out. As far as our sideboarding goes, we really do have a choice to make. I've relabeled these sideboard matchups so that we have Dawnblade Dorinthea and just Hatchet Warrior. So the game you're going to see here is Hatchet Warrior, and I am building for Hatchet Warrior. My list has changed ever so slightly. At this point, Hardened Crosstrap is out, and I will be running Beaten Trackers in this matchup. I've heard good things about Beaten Trackers, that the 2 additional life from Scab Skins is very often worth less than the additional 3 to 9 points of value we get from having an on-demand action point. I'm still not running Savage Feast in this most recent iteration of the list. I understand that there could definitely be some disagreements about that. Savage Feast is the best card in our deck when we have agility or an action point. It is also the worst card in our deck when we don't. Add that to the fact that every card in our deck is better with agility or an action point, and I think that Savage Feast really is unnecessary at this time. So our Beaten Trackers are going to work really well with Blood Rush Bellow when we don't have agility, or with Bare Fangs when we don't have agility. Notably, they do not work by discarding Agile Windup or by discarding to Beat Chest. Other things to think about in this matchup, we are now playing 2 copies of Massacre. I think this is a great card for going over the top. On a big Blood Rush turn, leading with a Massacre that has Go again is going to strip a card out of Warrior's hand even before the attack really gets started. And depending on what we take, that could shut down their entire next turn. We're also boarding out Send Packing, and this is a bit of a contentious decision as well. Send Packing is a great card, and it's a yellow. At the same time, it's a 3-cost 6, which is below rate considering that our deck is full of 2-cost 6s, so it doesn't play well with our standard line of Pulting or Wild Ride, Claw, 2-cost 6. And for how much armor Warrior has, I find that it just doesn't connect often enough to justify the value. It's nice to know what reaction Dorinthea has in Arsenal, but more often than not, it's just putting it back into her hand and she gets the same value out of it anyway. And we are usually inconvenienced by having the 3-cost of Send Packing as opposed to the 2-cost of Command and Conquer. So we're boarding out Send Packing. We are leaving Humble in the sideboard. Shutting down Dorinthea's hero power usually doesn't matter. And we are running a clean 65 into the hero. As far as what Dorinthea is going to be doing to us, very uncommon that she's going to have any sort of spike turn. She is just coming in with consistent hatchet damage. And the onus is on us to keep up. So let's queue up into it and see if we can do just that. This is a bad opening hand. We do not want to see 2 Blood Rushes in the top 4 cards of our deck. We are going to get some wind-up value by discarding this Mighty Wind-Up to make a Might. At this point, we're really hoping to draw into like a Swing Big or even a Pack Hunt or Command and Conquer, something that'll let us pitch a Blood Rush without being forced to randomly discard. Even if we were to keep this wind-up, we could not pitch it to play Blood Rush because we would be at risk of discarding the other Blood Rush. So this is a really bad opening, and Dorinthea smells blood in the water. So she's going to send Hatchet for 2. We are going to take this damage. We are going to unfortunately let her get Grain's value, but we're going to block the second Hatchet with a Blood Rush so that we are at least preventing 3 damage instead of 2. This isn't the worst start because it's hopefully going to let us cycle a Blood Rush out of our hand. Unfortunately, we draw into a 3rd Blood Rush Bellow. This is just horrendous luck for us, a really bad way to start the game. 3 Blood Rush Bellows in the top 6 cards of our deck. It's extremely unlikely. It's also very bad for us. We want to be drawing into these as the game continues. We want to be building up to a very strong Blood Rush turn. So what we should do with this hand, as bad as it is, we should actually play the Swing Big and overpitch by pitching Wild Ride, then Blood Rush. Dorinthea already has agility, so she is not incentivized to really heavily block out the Swing Big to make a quicken. We also get a non-block out of our hand. I have some consideration for keeping this Wild Ride to pair with our Blood Rush because as of now we don't have agility. So keeping a Wild Ride in hand increases our chances of going 3 links wide on our Blood Rush turn. That said, when the Blood Rush is in Arsenal and not the Wild Ride, there is a pretty strong chance that the Blood Rush discards a Wild Ride. And what we could do, we could play Swing Big, pitch a Blood Rush, then Arsenal a Wild Ride, so that we hopefully now have Blood Rush, a blue, 2 attacks, so that we are going to get to go 3 links wide. Maybe that is what we should do. We're signing up to take a lot of damage from Dorinthea because we don't want to block, but we at least are setting up for a good Blood Rush turn, and we're already on the back foot, so we need to try and make something happen. So you know what? If I am making this call now, it is going to be play Swing Big, pitch Blood Rush, Arsenal Wild Ride. We take an intellect penalty, but that's really the best we can do in a horrible situation when we've seen all of our blood rushes way too early. I opt to play the blood rush. I don't hate this decision, and I don't hate necessarily what I'm doing here. I just think that we are only going to get to go 2 links wide on this blood rush turn, and we are giving Dory the ability to break her balance of justice on our first turn. This is a really underwhelming blood rush turn, right? We are going to get to put a wild ride into Arsenal, so it could definitely be worse, but it could have been a lot better for us. The hand we draw into is kind of okay-ish. It is going to let us block. The problem is with this wild ride in Arsenal, we are not getting a ton of value out of the agility token that we make by blocking with Clash. We shouldn't block this. We should block the next hatchet. We should also expect that Dory is going to get a 3rd hatchet swing this turn, as the fact that she had agility already, then played spoils, makes me think that she is sitting on a hit and run or a blade runner. There is the hit and run. So we could block this for 5, just put Clash and Bone Breaker in front of it. That is going to let us play our E-Strike to draw a card. We win the Clash. We see a Ripple Away on top of Dory's deck. And here's where we get punished for blocking that hatchet, and where we really should have just, that is on me, we should have not blocked the 2nd hatchet and saved our block for the 3rd hatchet. In this case, the 3rd hatchet is a Command and Conquer, but we knew there would be a 3rd hatchet just based on Dorinthea having already hit. So waiting to block there would have been correct, and it would put us into a position where we would be at 5 less life, but we would be able to 2-card block this Command and Conquer, and on our turn, put something together. Maybe play a wild ride, pitch a wild ride, hope to draw into a good follow-up to that. Here we're in a position where we are either going to overblock the Command and Conquer and kind of just do nothing on our turn, or we are going to take 6 from the CNC, lose our Arsenal, and kind of hope for the best with an E-Strike draw card. So that is what I'm going to do. I hate getting hit by the Command and Conquer, but we put ourselves into a position where if we try and defend it, then we really don't have a great option for our turn. We're presenting 6 damage by pitching a wild ride to play a wild ride, and that's kind of it. So I think that we are actually gaining value by taking this CNC damage. We're going to get to E-Strike for 6 with Go Again and draw a card, and we either follow up by playing this wild ride from hand, potentially playing the top card of our deck, or just pitching to Claw and arsenaling something else. So it is unfortunate. Really should have taken the hatchet damage. We would have been sitting on a little more armor. We would be at a slightly higher life total, and we would not have lost that wild ride, but really just compounding what is already a very bad start for us. We are definitely incentivized to pitch this windup than we are to use it, because we know that Dorinthea has a Ripple Away in hand. If we discard this windup to make my agility, Dorinthea discards Ripple Away and we make nothing. So correctly pitching the windup to attack with Clash. Dory keeps a 5-card hand, which is really bad for us. We could think about trying to flesh bag here to prevent her from keeping her Blade Runner or her hit and run. What I like doing instead is blocking this hatchet with Scabskin Leathers. What I would kind of like to do on my turn is, well, if I could keep this entire hand, that's actually not bad, right? I can attack with Beast Within, I can pitch Pound Town, I can discard Mighty Windup, and then arsenal a Pack Hunt. So we actually do have a decent way to convert this 4-card hand into something reasonable. But if we do need to block later in the chain, I can block with Beast Within. I can play Pack Hunt, pitch Pound Town, discard Wind Up. I can block with Pound Town, Beast Within, and Wind Up, and then Arsenal a Pack Hunt. But I like blocking this Hatchet with the Scabskin Leathers, because if Dorinthea then plays a Hit and Run or a Blade Runner, we can expect that she would want to hit and run, at which point we can block the second Hatchet for 6, and if she doesn't hit with either Hatchet, then she does not get the benefit of her hero power, so she wouldn't be able to attack a third time. So I do think using the Flesh Bag here is definitely aggressive. I think that our hand is not good enough to warrant this. Dorinthea is still having 2 cards in hand. This could be another Blade Runner in hand. That said, if it is a Blade Runner, then we can block this Hatchet and it will not be able to attack again. So at this point, I think our best line is probably just block the Hatchet with Beast Within and Pound Town, Arsenal a Pack Hunt, and discard Mighty Wind Up on our turn to make 2 mites. If we block with the Armor and a Beast Within, then, I mean, what are we doing on our turn? We're sending Pack Hunt for 6 and discarding Mighty Wind Up. I just don't think that's very good. We can pitch our blue to Claw, discard Mighty Wind Up, and use our Tunic to Pack Hunt. That is what we're going to do. So we are still presenting 10 damage and making 2 mites. That's good. I just think that, well, now we don't have a Flesh Bag. And I don't think this 4-card 10 was really worth protecting. I would have liked to save Flesh Bag for when we draw into a Cast Bones. We play the Cast Bones and we hit that agility, and we want to keep like a 5-card hand with Bear Fangs. I wanted to say for when we draw into a Blood Rush Bellow, but we don't have those anymore. And that is the disadvantage of drawing our Blood Rushes so early, is that Flesh Bag is really good at preserving a 5-card. Flesh Bag is good at preserving a 5-card Blood Rush hand, but we don't have Blood Rushes to draw into. Hatchet for 2 does not currently have Go again. We're expecting a Blade Runner here. Glint the Quicksilver works too. Expecting Dory to just pitch into Grains, pitch into Brave Forge. She could potentially just make another Vigor. We are going to keep this hand. It's maybe a little aggressive, but we do have Pulping, 2 blues. Dory has the Shift the Tide of Battle, so we're going to get a 3rd Hatchet Swing and a Quicken. Things steadily going from bad to worse for us. But we are going to hope for some decent draws. And we at least get there. Dory doesn't have the arsenal for us to threaten, but we are going to get to follow this Pulping with Claw, Command, and Conquer. So still pushing a decent amount of damage. Not a bad turn cycle for us, just again, we're playing very fair. We aren't building towards anything. We're really looking to find, at this point, a Cast Bones with a Pulping or Wild Ride to put into our arsenal so that we can play a little defense, and just hope that Dory is unable to convert a 4 or 5 card hand. It's a little unlikely, and it would be a lot easier to bank on that if we still had our Flesh Bag. Dory keeping a 3-card hand, reasonably certain this is going to turn into Hit and Run Blade Runner, but we'll see if that is in fact the case. The fact that Dory wanted to keep this 3 cards makes me think that she has something pretty decent lined up, a way to give the second Hatchet go again. I think blocking this Hatchet could have been good. We are putting ourselves into a position where we're really hoping that we're going to be able to Pulping Claw something. but I don't know that we can take another 6 here to make that happen. And if we had blocked that first hatchet for 3, we could have blocked this hatchet for 6 and just arsenal a pulping, still be at 13. And potentially Dory does not have to go again. Potentially she had to take it on the chin. We draw into a blue, so our follow-up to this is just not great. We can claw arsenal a pound town or something. I mean, really bad, right? Drawing and then discarding another blue was not great. Not getting to keep that riled up even. But we took a chance taking a lot of damage, and we are going to get punished for it, I think. Here, if Dory has the reaction, she has the reaction. I'm feeling pretty bad about the state of this game right now. And we do see, I mean, if we had 9 more life, yeah, Dory has some more life too, but if we have 9 more life and a pulping an arsenal, I feel really good about tanking some damage here and getting to throw back what is probably looking to be a 15-point turn cycle. Too little, too late, trying to set something up. Dory does have the spoils to give the hatchet go again. We can try to survive this turn cycle, but we are dead to the Blade Flurry. So I hesitate to call it a close game. I think considering how bad our start was, we did manage to stay in it for longer than I thought we would have been able to, but our start was very bad. For our part, we did a really bad job of recovering from it. We could have done a lot more work to set up that 5-card Blood Rush. We could have played a little smarter around Dory's face-up 3rd attack so that we wouldn't have lost our arsenal to that Command and Conquer. We could have definitely blocked better to try and set up for a stronger 5-card pulping turn. Instead, we took a ton of damage to fire back a very inefficient turn cycle, and I think more than anything, we gave up our flesh bag very early to protect a pretty medium 4-card hand. Warrior is a difficult matchup for Kayo. They have a ton of value. They rely a lot on reactions that Kayo does not have the defense reactions to respond with, and they block a lot better than Kayo does. They have better blocking armor, they have more 3 blocks than we do, and they don't need to keep as big of hands as we do to have effective turn cycles. This is a difficult matchup. It is very winnable. I think it's 40-60 at worst and probably closer to 45-55. The onus is on us as the KO player to put big turn cycles and big damage together. And this was a good example of how not to do that. 1, because our draws really didn't line up well for it. And 2, because we squandered a lot of the advantages we had. So use this as a cautionary tale of how not to recover from a bad start. But also you can see kind of the beginnings, the inklings of me learning how to beat Warrior. And I've done so a few times since now. And I'm looking forward to putting up a win to show you all what that looks like. So I hope at least you learned from this loss. I did. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. It's free. It helps me out a lot. No matter what you do, catch me back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. And until then, take care.